My name is America Darling Curl. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and Salt Lake City. I got a job, so I hopped up and moved. Didn't know anything about Tucson, knew nothing about Arizona. I actually thought Tucson was a suburb of Phoenix. So I love it. It's definitely home. I'm a lab tech for the Cancer Research Center. I was doing a bachelor's in Japanese and business, and then just decided that wasn't my thing anymore and went home to the community college. And there was this girl that I was chatting up, trying to flirt. She started telling me about the program. I was like, oh, that seems like fun. And I ended up applying for the program because of the girl. And it turned out to work well. So that's how I ended up in this. No, she left like 2 months in. Because it is Tucson, I'm the only black person that I know of in my lab of like 300 people. I used to have an afro, and I went from relaxed hair to about, it was, shoulder length. And then one day I came in and I had this teeny weeny little afro, and suddenly people were like, oh, what's that? And they would thrust their hair in or hands into my tiny little fro, and I just sort of stood there and would freak out about like people touching me, which is a problem because the tissue comes from the morgue. So I don't know where your hands have been. I don't know if you've just been in a body. I don't know if you were like, you know, going through somebody's stomach to do a biopsy. I've got no idea where your hands have been. Oh my God, now they're in my hair. In fact, the worst thing that absolutely ever happened that involved my fro and just a lack of diversity. All right, don't cry, America. I almost got fired over my afro. And it was hopefully just, ignorance and miseducation rather than any true harm. But I got a call from HR that said my hair was nappy and unprofessional. And so I had to go into HR, and I'm trying to talk to this woman in HR, and I've got my old badge picture which has my relaxed hair on it, and she's like, well, why can't you just go back to that? It's like, because I don't have that hair anymore. It's been shaved off, and this is how my hair naturally grows. And she made it seem like unless I made a major change that I was going to lose my job. So I go back to my lab and I tell my boss, who at the time was like this 65-year-old white man, and I'm in tears. And he says, that's absolutely unacceptable. Don't even worry about it. I'll fix this problem. So the next time that I have to go to HR, because I've explained to the woman that this is how my hair naturally grows the fuck out of my head, she said, I'll do some research and we'll get back to you. And so he found a couple black surgeons that were like residents or something. And he found a white woman upstairs in the lab that has these waist-length dreadlocks. And they're not pretty dreadlocks. They're huge and kind of like a bird's nest, and it's just sort of weird. And she's been with the company like 10 or 12 years or something. And so these people are all sort of explaining about natural hair and the way these things work, and how she got her hair to dread, and why this woman's hair is long and silky, and why my hair is natural. And the woman does eventually apologize, and she's like, I'm so sorry, but we do have dress code standards, and I just needed to address this, but now it's not a problem. You're fine. You go about your day. And that has just been something that stuck with me, that I was so proud to finally like accept the way my natural hair was. And my first major interaction is go back to relaxing it or you're going to lose your job. I'm still kind of learning about that, actually. There's a term for it, pansexual. I just learned that there was a term for it. I'm still kind of new to all like the officialness of these things, but I've always said consenting adult. So doesn't matter what you look like anywhere. If we find each other attractive, then I am trying to usher you into my bedroom as quickly as possible. It's kind of nice to know that there are other people out there and there are official names for these things. I'm not like the weird one that just wants to sleep with everybody. I remember this girl telling me, because in the Mormon faith, they take the dark mark on the skin, the curse of Cain, to be actual skin color, whereas most people see it as, you know, some sort of birth defect, a dark mark. So to allow me to not feel excluded from this religion, because I should have been, because I'm going to hell because I'm black, this girl in class explained to me, I don't like chocolate, and the elementary school had white milk and chocolate milk, and she said, you're not black, it's that as a white baby your parents fed you too much chocolate milk and you turned brown. So you're just, you know, you're just a white baby dipped in chocolate. And that's fine. And as long as you're a good person, like, the chocolate will go away. And I was like, okay, so that makes sense. I'm just a little white baby dipped in chocolate. All right, I just got to be good. And I just must not have been good enough. Because eventually my parents got a divorce and my mother dealt with it for a little while, but very obviously not getting any lighter. And that's, you eventually have to have a conversation with yourself and with your child about why people don't talk to your black daughter in church and why nobody's allowing their sons to date your black daughter. And so she sent me back to my biological family. And it was, it's not something that I would wish on my worst enemy, to be in an environment that tells you this thing you can't control is fundamentally wrong because God said so, and you don't get to go to the celestial kingdom. And the Mormon Church has done a lot to, they've done lots of like edicts and announcements, and it's great because, like, the Pope, they can always go back and say, this has changed because God. So the reason that black men were allowed to become priests is because God, you know, changed his mind, luckily, in the 80s. And then to go to this Catholic church that is 99.9% African American, and to meet my grandmother, who is this kick-ass fucking strong black woman who's like, fuck any man that tells you you are worthless, and to be surrounded by so many strong black women and men who are like, this is my wife and she's a doctor and she's amazing, and, you know, I'm lucky to be able to walk next to her. It sort of made me think, okay, my religious upbringings are starting to conflict. I wouldn't say that I believed in the Catholic religion. I was still, you know, thinking as a Mormon. So then I tried to find something that was more liberal and that supported my ideas, because even as a Catholic, I'm still being told you can't like girls. So that's a problem because I know I like girls. So I think I went to like paganism, and then it was like Buddhism. In New York City, I met this guy who was a Satanist in the, you know, like ironic Satanist way where they're just kind of being assholes. He seemed a little too extreme because he's that like angry atheist, and I was like, nah, man, you're weird. But when I met this girl in Tucson, she was talking about going to this atheist thing. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but she seems like a really cool person. I want to hang out with her more. So I'll just go to the thing. And so we ended up at this restaurant, and I assumed it was going to be like, I don't know, all angry white men in some dark basement somewhere just like yelling about the Bible and stuff like that. And I walk in and it's like these cute couples, and there's like somebody 16-year-old doing their homework, and, you know, older people, younger people, and would have been in a basement somewhere with just a bunch of angry dudes like that guy I met in New York. I never would have looked into, and I don't want to say what atheists believe, but what atheism is. I don't think I would have looked into myself anymore. And the discussion group was just really nice. And I remember people asking me, how do you identify? Meh, I just want to be a good person. They're like, oh, okay. And they're like, do you believe in God? And I'm like, meh, I don't know. And I started thinking about it. And I started thinking pretty hard and pretty fast. And I was like, I don't think I do have a belief in a higher power. And I think it's just about being a good person. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm an atheist. And I guess that's an okay thing to be. And I'm not going to go eat babies or burn down a church, or there's nothing wrong with that.